our listeners out there who've been tuning into Korea now for years now, we had doctors who took part in Doctors Without Borders in the past. However, today we are honored to have the international president of MSF, or simply in English, Doctors Without Borders, joining us in the studio, Dr. Christos Christou. Dr. Christou, welcome to our program.
Wow, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, SJ, to be here today.
I have to say, in the brief moment we have greeted each other right before, I saw your name and I said, hey, Greek. And then I said I was from New York. And as soon as I said I'm from New York, what town did you name?
Astoria.
Astoria, that is crazy because when I immigrated to the United States in 1992, that was the first area I lived, the first neighborhood I lived in Astoria, and he named it right away. It's a highly Greek. There's a highly Greek population there.
Yes, it was, and still is, I think. Yes.
As much as we want to talk about how much I want to go to Greece and where I'm originally from, let's go into our segment here. Back in 2023, again, we've had a number of people taking part, both in the higher office and also doctors, part of Doctors Without Borders, but we've also had Emma Campbell, who is the executive director of MSF Korea. I understand this is your first time visiting South Korea since assuming the role of the international president back in 2019. What brings you to Korea on this occasion, though?
Yes, I'm here because of MSF in Korea, and as you said, in 2023, Emma took over, but our presence in Seoul is since 2013.
Yeah.
And I'm here to support our office. But I'm also here because Korea is gaining a very important role in what we call global health these days. It's becoming more and more influential. Korea is growing financially, but also is a member of the United Nations Security Council. And all this makes me feel like I'm in the right place, the right moment, and I want to engage with all the right people.
Dr. Christou, you're a busy man. With your ranking, with your title, I'm sure there's been so much happening. How has been your schedule so far here in South Korea?
As my colleagues, thanks to them, I had the opportunity to engage with members of the parliament, with the National Assembly. I had already two very interesting lectures in the big universities, and now I'm here with you to engage with your audience.
Well, I mean, again, it's an honor and a privilege to have you in our studio on this occasion. Again, as you mentioned, MSF Korea was established more than 10 years ago. And from your perspective as the international president, how would you assess the contributions of the Korean office over the years?
Yeah, I would like to start by acknowledging the generosity of the people here in Korea. People have shown so much support since the very early years, and I can understand why. The people went through a lot these last decades, and now they have the resilience, but they also have the empathy. And what I'm asking them to do is also show this empathy to the other sides of the world. It's very interesting to see the history and how South Korea has turned from a country that used to be a beneficiary from humanitarian aid to a country that is a donor in the humanitarian aid now.
Yeah, I mean, that is, again, we talk about the miracle on the Han River and how South Korea really, after the Korean War, went from ashes into one of the biggest economies. But also, many administrations have emphasized the fact that, because I believe Korea recently, not too long ago, became officially a developed country.
Yes.
And as South Korea became a developed country, one of the things that the leaders have said was, now it is our chance to give, as we have received so much from so many organizations over the years. The name Doctors Without Borders already gives a sense of your mission, right? But could you provide a more detailed introduction of MSF's work, and where do you primarily operate? What kind of medical humanitarian activities do you carry out, and how does the process actually unfold?
Yes, let me start by saying that when we first started, we started as a group of doctors and journalists.
Wow, journalists
too. Yes, we were doctors and journalists together, sitting in a small office in Paris in 1971. And our core pillars of our action was to provide medical care, but also bear the witness, advocate, and communicate. In other words, SJ, become the voice of the voiceless. And that accompanied us all these years. It's been already 54 years. And we try to respond in most of the humanitarian crises around the world with a special focus on epidemics, on malnutrition, and of course on conflicts. And conflicts is a big part of our work,
right?
Especially mine as a surgeon, as a trauma surgeon.
It is unfortunate that there are many conflicts around the world. It happens. And there are also, although we talk about the major conflicts that are happening right now, let's say in the Middle East or what's happening in Ukraine, there are also other conflicts that are happening that's not even making the headlines. And which, again, it's interesting that journalists were part of the original group, because that's where I think the voices are required to let everybody know that there are also other conflicts that are happening around the world where they need a significant amount of humanitarian assistance. But speaking of conflicts, let's go into a crisis like the Ukraine war, where the situation in the Middle East over in Gaza, significant global repercussions. How have these geopolitical developments impacted SFSF's activities?
Yes, of course, as you said, these conflicts attracted a lot of the attention of the world. So we've been in Gaza, we've been in Ukraine, even before this war started. And we knew that we would have the support of all the people and all the attention that we needed. But still, we were struggling a lot to gain the access to the population.
Right.
And one of the things that I would put as a title there, beyond both of these contexts, was the attacks that we had experienced in what we call our medical care.
Yeah.
They systematically attacked our hospitals. We even lost people from that. And these are the conflicts that everyone is aware of. But as you mentioned, there are so many others that no one speaks about. Yeah. And I will just mention Sudan, because it's been already 2 years now.
So long.
And there is a massacre happening as we speak. And we have talked to people, our patients, and their stories are horrific. And it's not just Sudan. Then we can move in other places in the world, like Haiti. Nobody speaks about Haiti. There's a complete political chaos there, and people dying and being killed. And there's no way that we can access these people. They even attack our hospitals and our ambulances.
That's been sort of the real frustrating thing, and especially when we look at currently in the Middle East, in Gaza, given the fact that the saddest aspect of that war is not necessarily because Israel and Hamas are fighting, but the many, many Gazans and the Palestinians who've left their homes and need significant humanitarian assistance. And from what I understand, because of the end of the first phase of the ceasefire, Israel has prevented any humanitarian assistance from coming in. It's not like you don't want to go in there. You want to go in there, but there is a limitation of what you can do because they're, again, attacking ambulances, attacking the hospitals. But in these conflict zones that we talked about, what's the most urgent and critical humanitarian aid efforts that are needed right at this time?
At this right time, they need the basics. They need access to
water,
clean water.
Yeah.
They need access to food, and they need access to essential medicine. And we don't have this. They don't have this. They don't have the necessary supplies for all the reasons that you very well described. And we still struggle to engage with all sides in order to gain this access.
Right.
And we don't talk about complicated and very sophisticated, of course, operations that need to occur there. I don't talk about all the collective trauma of these people and all the very complex traumas that they have to be treated. I don't talk about the importance of medical evacuations. Some of these people have to be evacuated and go in other places, in trauma centers. But I just talk about the simple things that most of the people don't have.
I mean, like you say, clean water, blankets, food, the simple things. But if you look into the medical assistance that they need, right? I mean, there's also much that you can do at the site there. There's limitation, and you did make a very good point that they need to be transferred to other areas in order for them to get these surgeries. But the areas that need medical personnel the most are oftentimes the more dangerous and challenging environments. I mean, we've heard of medical professionals in Gaza who've been injured or even lost their lives while carrying out their work. Could you maybe share some examples of individuals whose lives were sacrificed, or they sacrificed their life, that we should remember? Because I think it's important. It's often they do come out maybe on the news and it's forgotten after days, weeks. Who are those people who are risking their lives trying to help the people in these very, very dangerous scenes?
Oh, SJ, this is very important indeed, because I want to really put some names and faces behind all the numbers that we keep having. And I will never forget those two doctors, friends of ours, that they were operating inside a hospital in Gaza.
Yeah.
And, in surgery, we have a big table where we write the names of the patients and the order of the operations that they have to undergo. Instead of that, they went there and they wrote with their own handwriting that we did everything we could. We hope that the world will remember us. Mm-hmm. And after they wrote that, they have been bombed, they were killed, and we still have images from this table which is completely damaged. I will always remember our other colleague who was a lab technician and who was killed by a drone in Gaza while cycling to come to the work. And I will never forget also recently one of our colleagues who was killed in the Democratic Republic of Congo, another place where it seems like they can never recover from wars that happen as we speak and people don't talk about.
No one forced these doctors to go to these dangerous zones. They chose themselves because they felt that the talent and skill that they have as doctors can contribute beyond their own countries, which is why Doctors Without Borders, they're going beyond the borders to help and use their talents. Unfortunately, again, there's also much that they can do without the assistance of the country that's involved with this, right? Or the bureaucrat there. Providing the medical aid is crucial, but again, ensuring the safety, right? I mean, a safety and sustainability of the humanitarian worker is just as important. What safety protocols must field workers follow, and what kind of support is available to them in these conflict zones?
Yes, safety is a top priority for us. Actually, is my nightmare. Every night I want to know that everyone out there is safe. And we have 67,000 people working with us.
Wow.
And as you said, people coming from different places and wealthy countries around the world, they just want to stand in solidarity with those people that they are excluded, they are vulnerable, they are left behind. As it happened, I met these days Korean colleagues of mine that they do the same as the Greek colleagues of mine, the Norwegian nurses, the Swedish doctors. We want to stand by others. Of course, there are protocols, there are trainings. We keep every day engaging with all sides, negotiating access, sharing our coordinations, and making sure that everyone is fully aware of our moves wherever we go. But still, this is not enough, because sometimes, or actually we see that more and more, it becomes like a pattern. They attack the medical care itself. And there, I'm sorry, but there are no other guarantees unless the countries, the states, will assume this responsibility and hold everyone accountable.
And that's just the thing, right? I mean, you can do all so much to follow the protocol that you have, but when you're attacking the hospitals, the very hospitals that you're working, Dr. Christo, you used the word, you said you have nightmares. And again, I mean, you talked about your colleagues who've lost their lives doing what they've done. Mental health support, I feel like, is very, very crucial, vital to the aid workers. How does Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, help manage the mental well-being of its staff?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult. Not because we don't have the tools,
right?
But sometimes this is not enough. What helps us a lot, though, is is the resilience and the courage that our patients show. And it's like a feedback mechanism to us. When we stand by them and when we save their lives, I feel sometimes that we get more than what we give.
Oh, man.
And that keeps us carrying on. We give our helping hand, they stand up, they regain their hope, and they give back to us more. And this is the energy that we need. And that's how it works.
I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps hearing this. We don't think about that, right? We often think, well, you have doctors going out there and assisting the patients. It's the patients who are receiving everything, and the doctors are getting nothing in return. No, there is some reciprocity going on right now. They are also getting something out from the energy.
That's exactly, and you said the right word. It's about reciprocity.
Yeah.
And I think it goes beyond Doctors Without Borders and beyond patients. It is in our everyday life, wherever we are, standing by others. And this basic notion of solidarity, it's what humankind is about.
Right.
And this is what brought us to where we are today.
We talked about some of the bigger conflict zones like in Ukraine, or again, Gaza keeps popping up for me personally, but there's other regions where they are requiring urgent humanitarian focus right now. Can you maybe name some of the regions that need a lot of help that just don't make the headlines, don't make the news as often as, again, are some of the major crisis zones?
Yes. I mentioned Haiti before.
Right. Congo, Sudan.
But let us not forget the Rohingyas. It's been more than 10 years now. And the people, more than 1 million of them, are still living in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, a camp which everyone calls it like an open prison.
Yeah.
And there's no real perspective for these people there. There's no freedom. There's no option to regain their lives. And this is just the tip of an iceberg of humanitarian needs. There are also places that we could never imagine. And there are pockets of exclusion and poverty everywhere around the world, even in the most wealthy places. We saw that very clearly during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
And we saw how many people were left behind.
Again, I mean, I think it's crucial that we bring attention to these areas so that more assistance and more attention is being paid to these areas. Dr. Christo, you've been leading MSF as international president since, again, 2019. Before that, you worked directly in the field as a medical professional. What initially led you to join MSF?
You know, with doctors, we always like to help others, and we are so proud of our medical skills and how we can be, helpful to people. And that's how I started my career. But very, very early, I realized that maybe this is not enough. What I wanted to do is also to find those that they may never have access to these very basic things, and especially medical care and social medicine. I wanted to be to the most vulnerable. And I remember when I was in one of our amphitheaters in the university that I saw for the first time the Doctors Without Borders poster. There was a poster that had a bullet, and below the bullet there was a drug, a medicine. And it said, "Their weapons kill, ours save lives." And that brought me to this organization.
Wow. Again, having worked as a frontline physician, now as a leader of an international organization, I guess this is a weird question in some way, and I want to toss this to you. What role do you think you feel suited best for you? Do you still feel the itch?
Yes, yeah. And I think all these years, and especially those last 5 years that I'm leading this organization that makes me so proud of, there's one thing that made me really proud is that we are becoming an island of hope for many people outside there. And when we see how the world is going crazy and is falling apart, we are still there to defend humanity. And this is what I will never, ever abandon. And I will try in this narrative to gather all my people around this thing.
Managing the well-being of aid workers, again, it's crucial, but so is managing donations effectively. You could have, again, also many brave doctors who want to go to these conflict zones, but it also requires money. Individual donors, sometimes check for, MSF website and see how funds are located and things like that. But from the perspectives of fundraising, what challenges has MSF been facing recently when it comes to the funding of your deeds?
We are in a quite unique position and very privileged one to say that we are financially independent because 98% of our funds come from individuals. We have more than 7 million of supporters around the world.
Wow.
Many of them are here, and you can never imagine from all over the world. And there are people like my mom, your friends, and they support us. And this makes us financially dependent, which is precious. Of course, these days, with what is happening, and we are all seeing how much other organizations have been directly affected, we are still in a very good situation. But this does not mean anything for the future. We need to keep maintaining this strong relationship and this honesty and transparency that we have built up all these last years with our supporters.
Dr. Christo, before we wrap up, I just want to read some messages coming in here. Made it up. He's over in London. One of the things I love about MSF and similar organizations is that when everyone involved in the risk assessment of locations for governments and etc. are saying, don't go there, they'll still go anyway. Seyoung, one of our reporters, says, this story gives me a lot to think about. I was deeply moved. Thank you, doctor, for your dedication. I sincerely hope that the devotion of doctors will never be in vain. I think, again, doctors and just average people alike, citizens of whatever countries, friends, like you say, your mom, our moms, can also get involved with this. And again, I think it's really crucial that we find out more about the missions that they're going through and all the little places that we don't talk about on the news also get some attention as well. Dr. Christo, I wish we had more time to discuss this, but I want to thank you so much for what you've done, what your colleagues do every day in different parts of the world, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much for this, and your words are so encouraging for us to carry on.